In today's video, I'm going to be going over walking and fat loss and how you can use it to your benefit to lose the most amount of fat possible. Yes guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Max Rogers. I own a coaching company called Maxwell Coaching where we've helped hundreds of people lose body fat and hundreds of people build muscle. But first things first, only 89% of you actually subscribe to these videos. So if you want me to keep making them, I'm pumping out 5 or 6 a week now as opposed to 3, hit the subscribe. But let's get into it. Now, walking has become very popular over the years when it comes to fat loss, and there's a few reasons for this, okay? We know it's very, very low impact. If you're 20 or if you're 70, walking is probably something you can do. You need minimal equipment. You're not going to get injured or blow your back out. It's great on the knees and ankles. It doesn't increase your appetite, and it is just a great calorie burner. In terms of how many calories are burned during walking, we're looking at between 30 and 50 steps per 1,000 steps. So if you're a small female, you're looking at maybe 30 calories per 1,000 steps. If you're a bigger guy, you're looking at probably 50 calories per 1,000 steps. So if you imagine 300 calories is 10,000 steps for a female, that's an extra 300 calories a day. That's 2,100 calories a week. That is a lot. It's over 8,500 calories a month just from walking alone, without the increase in appetite, without being super fatigued, without all of the drawback that comes from cardio and needing equipment and things like that. So you can see why it's so beneficial. Now, first things first, before you even step into a fat loss phase, if your goal is fat loss, you should look at your steps. Go to your phone, go to the health app if you have an iPhone, click on steps. At the top, it will say day, week, month, 6 months, year. Have a look at your average. Be honest with yourself. If you're averaging 3,000 steps a day, no wonder you've gained weight over the last 6 months. If you've got an office job, like most people, and you work, 8 till 5 or 9 till 5, whatever, you're doing 3,000 steps a day, you drink alcohol every weekend, you get a few takeaways a week, you don't go to the gym, you are going to get fat once you hit 30. If you're a female, you're going to get super fat. If you're a guy and you haven't got amazing genetics, you're going to get fat. It happens to everyone 30 odd, 40 odd. If you're a female, you do this, then have a couple of kids as well. These are the women that come to me and they're 10, 15 kilos overweight, and I look at their steps over the year and they've averaged 2,500 on average per day across a whole year. So the first thing we want to do when we move into a fat loss phase is increase those steps. Now, you'll see everyone say, 10,000 steps a day, you've got to hit 10,000 steps a day. If you've averaged 3,000 steps a day for the last year, it's not really realistic for you to then say, I'm going to do 10,000 now, and I'm going to train 4 days a week, and I'm going to follow a strict diet plan, and I'm going to check in with my coach every week, and I'm never going to drink alcohol again, and I'm not going to eat sweets again. Take your number and add 2,000 to it, okay? If you're doing 8,000 a day, let's hit 10,000. If you're doing 6,000, let's hit 8,000. And over time, you would creep that number up. Because remember, guys, during a fat loss phase, we want to increase output, which means cardio, steps, and training. Yeah, we don't always just want to decrease food. Yes, there needs to be calorie restriction when the goal is to lose body fat, obviously. But if we just slash calories right from the start, you put yourself into a hole that's pretty hard to get out of. So there's many different ways to do steps. You've got the traditional steps in a day where you're tracking your steps, 10,000 a day. If that's your number, you're going to go for a walk in the morning, walk in the evening. Remember, we're always looking to increase over time. So a slow walk as you get into your fat loss phase, a couple of weeks in, can become a fast walk. Doesn't have to become a run. I'm not saying you should run. I'll get into running in a second. This is strictly walking, okay? So you have your traditional steps. And there's often a bit of confusion around steps and cardio, because ideally, guys, in my opinion, I've coached hundreds and hundreds of people to get very, very lean. You want to have your steps tracked in a fat loss phase and your cardio tracked in a fat loss phase, and you want to keep them separate. If you start doing 30 minutes of an incline walk and you get 3,500 steps and then you call that your cardio, yes, it is 30 minutes of cardio, but then if you end the day on 3,500 steps, guys, it's not much activity, is it? And you're going to have to really under-eat to drop body fat. We want our steps to be here and our cardio to be here. So remember that, okay? But that being said, obviously, we can use steps as a great way to increase our cardio. If your cardio is done on a treadmill and we want everything to be tracked because it's then measurable, and then we can manage it and make the changes. If you're walking on a 3% incline on a treadmill for half an hour at a 5 pace, and then after a couple of weeks your fat loss stalls, if you take that 3% incline to a 4% incline and that speed 5 to a 5.5, you're definitely burning more calories in that half an hour. And that might be enough to get the ball rolling again with your fat loss without you having to decrease your calories, because decreasing our calories is the last thing we want to do. It is the last resort. But again, you don't then just call that steps and cardio. We want to have a step target that we hit no matter what, in my opinion. Like I said, a little bit more than you're doing. If you're doing 6,000, it becomes 8,000. Eventually that 8,000 becomes 10,000. And you get to a point where you max out based on your schedule, work, family, weather, and things like that, okay? But in a fat loss phase, guys, you are driving those steps up, but you are driving your cardio up alongside those steps. And as I said before, I would really recommend keeping them separate. This is why I like to have cardio done on like an elliptical, a Stairmaster, a bike, because they do not track your steps. And over time, in your fat loss phase, you increase steps, bump up cardio, increase steps, bump up cardio, increase steps, bump up cardio. And that doesn't necessarily mean duration, okay? You could do 8,000 steps a day and keep that the same, and your cardio could be 15 minutes, and you could look to increase your heart rate as opposed to the duration of cardio. So your 15 minutes of cardio that you do a few times a week at 140 beats per minute can suddenly become 150 beats per minute. Your walking can become power walking. But obviously, if you're power walking, tracking your steps outside, you will get more steps within the time frame. So guys, my biggest advice to you would be to keep them separate. Another benefit with steps as well is it's steady state, it's low intensity cardio. I'm a huge fan of low intensity cardio during a fat loss phase. High intensity interval training increases fatigue, increases the chance of injury, makes you very hungry, impacts training performance. Power walking on a treadmill or sitting on a bike or an elliptical doesn't affect training, and it's not going to make you massively hungry, but it is a great calorie burner. You need to use all the tools in your toolbox during a fat loss phase that's going to allow you to remain consistent and on plan, because that is the key, yeah? Getting steps. You can be a 60-year-old grandma and you have to increase your steps by a couple of thousand, it's doable. But if I put you on an assault bike and have you do 30 on 30 off sprints, you're going to quit after 5 minutes and you won't be able to get to the second round, especially if you're massively overweight or not conditioned at all. High intensity interval training will wreck you, okay? And again, a lot of my clients, I never have them do CrossFit sessions or high rock sessions. A 45-minute high rock session where it's just full throttle, go for 45 minutes. Yeah, you're gonna burn 500, 600, 700 calories, but you're going to be so hungry throughout the day that the majority of people, unless they're very disciplined, tend to eat more food. So you end up almost like balancing it out. And what happens when you've done that brutal high rocks in the morning? The body senses it, feels the fatigue, senses the deficit, and it will slow you down. So you're not going to go out for your walk unless you're tracking your steps, doing your cardio on top, and being super strict with your calories. The body will sense that and it will slow you down. And if I guarantee you, you start smashing high rocks and HIIT classes all the time, yes, you burn calories during that time, but your overall steps will start to come down during the week because the body has so much fatigue, and it will impact training in a negative manner, and your lifts will start to come down. Once your lift starts to come down to fatigue, you start to have a decrease in muscle, because we know that if you have a decrease in strength over time and a decrease in body weight with a decrease in calories, you will have a decrease in muscle. And during a fat loss phase, your number one priority is to hold as much muscle as possible. So you always want to favor steady state cardio. And the best steady state cardio for me is steps and walking at a decent pace. Now, just to summarize, guys, in my opinion, the best way to lose fat is to have a step count that you're hitting that progresses over time when you hit fat loss plateaus. To have a cardio plan that is separate to the step plan that progresses over time when you hit fat loss plateaus, and to obviously have a training plan that is consistent no matter what. And then only as a last resort will you start to pull calories down, because the best plan for you is the one that you can stick to long term, that you're not going to fall off of, not going to binge and crash off of. And that is always the best step forward. And guys, if you found this helpful, or you just want me to help you in the first place, I'm not an influencer, I'm a coach. Everything I do is put in the link below, not the link, the bio. I'll be happy to have a call with you guys and help out. If not, I hope you found the video helpful. Give it a like, subscribe, and comment. Any questions you want answered, just hit me up below. and I'll get a video out to you guys. Cheers.